Well, hello, and welcome to Effed Up News of the Week for February 6th, 2022. I still cannot believe we're in 2022. It is mind boggling to me that we're not only that we're in 2022, but then we're in February. Wow. Like, what the heck is going on? Well, guys, if this is your first effed up news of the week, this is a little stream I do on Sunday. Now, I stream every single day at 5 p.m. on my channel. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke. On Saturdays, I rest. But Sundays are a special day because Sundays are a day where we get together some of the more, well, shall we say, effed up news stories that have happened throughout the week. And do we have some doozies this week? I mean, I won't say this is like the most effed up week of news ever, but the Joe Rogan stuff is pretty crazy, isn't it? I'm going to be honest. I was talking with some of my locals members yesterday, and I'm a little annoyed at Joe Rogan. I'm a little annoyed at Joe Rogan for several reasons, quite frankly, that we're going to talk about on this show. But suffice it to say, he should never have apologized. He shouldn't have apologized. Even if you do something wrong, you don't apologize. There are other ways that you can handle it. Okay, I'm going to say my rant. We're going to get into that in the course of the show. But we've also got some stuff like Black Lives Matter stopped fundraising this week. That was pretty crazy. We've got dude, I've got a story about a teacher buying sex toys in front of students. Oh. I do have to thank many of my locals members for helping me pick out the effed up news stories of the week. I mean, I got some help from Sean. I got some help from Jenny's getting inky with it. Naruto came through. Qbert had some great options. Qbert, I don't think I picked any of your options, but I appreciate you them, and they were really, really good. I almost did the rock one, but I decided I was going to do a different Joe Rogan thing. So I do have to thank my locals members up front for posting some amazing effed up news in my locals community, which brings me to our first order of business, shall we? Can we do some shameless shilling? Do you guys mind if I do some shameless shilling? The very best thing you can do if you want to support my work is to become a member in my locals community. Now, you can do that by heading over to kb.locals.com/support. You can actually join for free just by heading to the main address, kb.locals.com. But if you do want to support the work I'm doing and unlock all of the features in my community, you can join for $5 a month. You can join for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. I do take PayPal and crypto for gifts. If you want to donate via crypto, the addresses for Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano are in the description, whether you're watching on YouTube or Odyssey or Rockfin. And of course, I appreciate all of that. But I do like collecting one-time gifts of support through my locals, because what that means is that you get to unlock the features of locals for the duration of the gift. And we do awesome stuff in my community. We do 2 Zoom calls a week. We have the next Zoom call coming up at 7 p.m. tomorrow. We're doing a book for a book club that we're going to have our book club in a couple of weeks. We still got 2 weeks to read The Aura of the Mind. You guys know what I'm talking about. The information is posted there. We're going to be doing a bitchcraft next Saturday. Who's ready for our second bitchcraft of 2022? Bitchcraft is basically a time where we get together on Zoom and we craft. You can knit, you can crochet, you can quilt, you can do laundry, you can make stained glass windows, you can clean your gun, you can do whatever you want to do. You can just hang out and chat. If you don't have a craft, maybe you've been trying to learn a craft. This is a good time to do it. We're going to do that next Saturday in my locals at 3 p.m., but you have to be a member. Now, I do want to thank, guys, we had a banner week for new annual memberships in my locals because I promised you guys. Everyone loves Spy Stream. Did anyone attend Spy Stream about a week ago? You guys all love Spy Stream. I want to start doing a lot more Spy Stream. And I promised my locals community that if I could get 5 new members, that I would purchase this training, Elementary Teaching for Equity and Justice. And I promised you guys, it's not a free training. I had to pay to get it. But I promised you guys that if I got 5 new annual members in my locals, that I would purchase this training. And guess what? I didn't just get 5. I got 11. 11! I asked for 5. I got 11. So we will be doing Spy Stream, at least for the first one. Now I have purchased it. I've signed up under an alias. We have to do things sneaky when we're doing Spy Stream. But at least for the first one, we will be having Spy Stream on March 31st, April 7th, April 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I know I'm looking forward to it. We have to wait, almost 2 months to be able to do it, but I know the payoff is there. Now, if you find a woke training online that you would like us to do Spy Stream over, that could be like if you sign up for like any free webinars or any free Zoom calls with like democratic organizers in your area, let me know about them, man. We can do Spy Stream for all of them. I'm up for it. I will do as many Spy Streams as you want. Spy Stream is awesome. We just have to find the webinars in order to be able to do it. And in order to do that, I will tomorrow, it has finally happened. I will be launching new features on my website, activelyunwoke.com, to allow us to start to coordinate, to allow us to start to bring the unwoke army together, because activelyunwoke.com is not just about a book that I spent months writing and pulling my hair out to try to explain the woke ideology and provide you with case studies and resources on how to fight back. We are going to make this a platform where we are going to be coming together to coordinate fighting back. So if you haven't visited activelyunwoke.com yet, I strongly recommend that you do. Not only can you pre-order my book, but you can sign up for some great live events and webinars that we have coming up. On Friday, we're going to have a free webinar with Nicole Solis, who is a mom in Rhode Island that got sued because she sent too many public records requests to the schools. So she's going to come and teach us how to write public records requests. Now, I have some exciting news, guys. Like, I talked to my publisher this week for Actively Unwoke. They're really happy with how the book is doing. In fact, if you look on Amazon right now, if you look in the new release category for political, my book is in like 3 different categories on Amazon. It's in political fiction. I am number 3 in new releases under political freedom. Not political fiction. I think I said fiction. No, political freedom. I am number 3. Dave is at number 12 under new releases under political freedom, and I'm at number 3. If we look in hot new releases for political commentary and opinion, of course, we've got Glenn Beck. Glenn is the king, but I'm not too far down this list either. Where am I on this one? I'm right under Andy No, so I'm under number 27 in the new releases on this one, ahead of Ben Carson, though, ahead of Chris Christie. I've got some, that's pretty good. And then in hot new releases for political conservatism and liberalism, again, Glenn back on top. We can understand that. But I'm at number 12, man. I am currently beating on Amazon Kellyanne Conway. And that's all with your help. I greatly appreciate it. And we've still got, guys, we still have like 2.5 months until the book comes out. Actually, later today, a lot of people have been asking me about autographed copies for the book. Later today, right after the stream, I have a homework assignment. I have to sign 50 effing autographed copies. So we will be providing a chance to get autographed copies. I've got my signature hand ready. I've got a purple pen. I've got a purple Sharpie. Victor wanted to buy me a special fancy pen to be able to sign the books with. He was like, he had it all picked out. It's like this $100 like fancy, super fancy pen that has gold and stuff. I was like, no, I want a purple Sharpie. We're doing it in a Sharpie like Trump. So that is what I'm going to be doing later today. And you guys can pick up your copy for pre-order over at activelyunwoke.com. All right, let's jump right into it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan made a mistake. He made a mistake. Well, was it a mistake? Or was it something that completely aligned with where Joe Rogan's priorities are? That's the question that I have. Because listen, man, not Joe. If anyone knows the rules of the woke, it is Joe Rogan. One of the rules I have, there's actually a chapter in Actively Unwoke that lays out 11 rules for fighting back against the woke. And rule number 8 is possibly the most important rule. I know I put it in number 8 because there's reasons, but it is actually probably the most important rule when you're fighting back against the woke. You don't bend the knee. Ever. Ever. Even if you're wrong. And listen, man, Joe Rogan said some things that were wrong. He did. That Planet of the Apes thing, that was wrong. That was racist. But that's not the point. Because here is the thing. The woke are not looking for an apology. They are not looking for reformation. They are not looking for behavior change. They're not looking for people to be reasonable human beings and say, you know what? I made a mistake. That was a really shitty thing to say, and I should never have said it. They aren't looking for that. They are only looking for your submission. Listen, I got canceled a while back for sending a spicy tweet about my spiritual beliefs that people took the wrong way about a certain event in Germany. And I don't take that back. I don't regret it. I will concede that I could have more artfully worded the tweet. I don't regret it. But did I apologize for that? No. No. And I still get crap about that tweet today, and I will never apologize for it. Not only because it was completely accurate and consistent in regards to how I view the world and my spiritual beliefs, but also because the outrage wasn't real. And the outrage towards Joe Rogan isn't real either. And I'm going to prove that in the course of this stream. This was not real outrage. And I understand the inclination of people to want to try to be rational and reasonable human beings. I get it. But what you have to understand is that when you are going up in front of a woke cancel mob, the woke cancel mob are not being rational, reasonable human beings. They don't want you to be a rational, reasonable human being. They only want your submission. That is it. That is their only goal. And once you submit to them once, they have you over a barrel for the rest of your life. I am actually really disappointed in Joe Rogan because of all the people in the world. Joe Rogan should have known better. He should have known better. And it makes me wonder what his real motives are. Grim Metals, keep on doing what you do, Carlin. I listen to you as I work. If you ever need any hand-poured metals, I'm here. Ooh, Grim Metals, don't tease me with a good time. I could think of a lot of uses for that, my friend. I'm going to keep you in mind. But the reason that I say that Joe Rogan may not have been doing this for the reasons that, to get the mob off his back is this tweet that came out today. Let me just make this. I always forget to make the font bigger for you guys, but we can get that up real quick. This is from Adam Kokesh. I don't know who this guy is. Apparently he's canceled on everything. I'm sure you guys know who he is. I don't know who he is. But I was a little perturbed at this tweet that I saw this morning. Joe Rogan finally reached out to me to apologize for censoring my episode on his show in order to get that Spotify money. He said it was because my episode contained too much misinformation. Now, it seems to me this episode of the show was probably a while ago. So why are we judging this show by today's standards is question number one that I have. Number two, why is Joe Rogan removing over 100 episodes from Spotify, including 2 with Michael Malice? I'm not cool with this, man. It seems to me that Joe Rogan may have actually sold out. And you know what? That's honestly kind of what I thought happened when he moved to Spotify. I was like, Joe Rogan's been doing this for a really long time. He has earned his payday. Give the man his $100 million. I had no love. I had no problem with it, to be honest. Like, dude's been doing this for a really long time. It makes sense that he would maybe want to kick back, kick up his feet, get that money. I totally get it. But I think there's also something to be said for the fact that Joe Rogan has put himself in this position and he has a responsibility to see it through. Listen, man, I don't like being a public person. Those who watch me regularly know this. Those in my locals community really know this. I do not like being a public person. I'm a public person because I know that it allows me to help people in a way that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. And I know that a lot of people find inspiration from my story. And I know that I have the ability to have a voice and a platform that can help and serve the greater good. Just because it's not your favorite thing to do doesn't mean you don't suck it up and do it when it's necessary to do. And right now, we need Joe Rogan more than ever to stand up for free speech in this country. And I'm sorry if that's not what he signed up for. He's just doing a podcast where he's just talking to people and speaking his mind. And I totally get it. But there are points when we find ourselves at moments of history when we need to step up and do what is needed rather than just what we find the most convenient. And if the path that Joe Rogan is going down is that he's just going to sell out and do whatever Spotify wants him to do in order to take that money, I don't think that's good. I don't think that bodes well for us. Who takes Joe Rogan's place is my question. Who steps up into that role? Joe Rogan has fuck you money. Who else has that? And the people that watch Joe Rogan and his real fans know that all of this is bullshit. So he has all the reason in the world. Like I wonder what is going to happen to Joe Rogan's audience now that he's bent the knee. I wonder if it's going to have the same impact anymore. I don't know. Maybe that's what he was looking for. But I wanted to bring up this thread because this thread honestly is absolute proof of what is actually going on. Like hat tip to Wokel Distance, man. Wokel is a great follow on Twitter. If you haven't followed him, he is amazing. I love his threads. I love his thoughts. But this was a really interesting thread, and I wanted to just walk you guys through it because if you guys think that this is all an accident, what's happening to Joe Rogan right now, it is not an accident. This is a political game, and this is why. This is why right here you do not apologize because he is nothing more right now than a pawn in a political game. And they won yesterday when he bent the knee. There were a million better ways that he could have handled this entire situation. But let's read this. Yeah, I think Nat D, I want to say he's better than James Lindsay. Wokel is different than James Lindsay, but he's awesome. He is awesome. He knows his stuff, and like the things that he puts out are fascinating. And I loved this thread. Let's walk through it. So Andrew right here asks, "Who do y'all think is behind this attack on Joe Rogan?" Wokel Distance says, "Since you asked, and I loved your work, I'll tell you. This is a professional political attack. 3 waves, one right after the other, is not a coincidence. Good spacing, good timing. So it's absolutely professional. But who was it, you ask? That takes some digging. The video compilation of Rogan saying the N-word was dropped by Patriot Takes 6 days ago. You see the video in the tweet in pick 1, and Patriot takes credit for republishing the information in pick 2. That they take credit is important, and you'll see why shortly. As you can see from their bio, Patriot Takes is partnered with Midas Touch. Oh. And this is where it gets interesting. Who is Midas Touch? Well, they are a professional political organization. In fact, they are a Democrat super PAC, more on that in a moment, run by 3 brothers. Ben, Brett, and Jordan Milesales. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Sorry. All of them have worked in media and have expertise in understanding manipulating media. The most important thing for us is that Brett was a social media manager for Ellen DeGeneres and is an expert editor, which matters because Patriot Takes works with Midas Touch, and I'd say it's a safe bet that given their expertise in social media management, that the N-word video was created by Midas Touch. But we are not done. Midas Touch is a super PAC. Well, what's a super PAC, you ask? Well, a super PAC is a political advisory group with a special twist. Super PACs may raise unlimited sums of money for corporations, unions, associations, and individuals that spend unlimited sums to overtly advocate for or against political candidates. That means that a super PAC can take in unlimited amounts of money and then spend however they want politically. Midas Touch is a super PAC. They can take in as much cash as they want, 4.7 million for the 2020 election cycle and 1.5 million for the 2022 cycle to be exact. Now, to recap, Midas Touch, a super PAC which can collect as much cash as it wants from pretty well anywhere, and is a professional strategy and media firm run by people with deep ties to entertainment, likely had a hand in the N-word video Patriot Takes used to attack Joe Rogan. So the question is why? Why are they doing this? And what do they have to gain? I think I found a clue in the letter Patriot Takes wrote about all this. Look at the highlighted part. What does that tell you? What does it look like to you? So the highlighted part says, this past week, Patriot Takes republished and brought to the national spotlight dozens of recorded instances where Joe Rogan used the N word, referred to black people as Planet of the Apes, and applauded a Nazi salute, among other despicable racist conduct. And I want to make clear right now, because I know this will get clipped out of context, I ain't condoning any of that. These videos have now received millions of views. Patriot Takes is bragging about their millions of views and how they made the video the center of the national conversation. They are bragging about their clout. Rogan is the one guy the left can't cancel. If a group could cancel Rogan, it would be a massive show of power. As we've talked about a million times, what they're doing, critical race theory, all the rest of it, is not about race. It is only about power. This attack on Joe Rogan is only about power. That's all it is. It is about power. Naruto says, I have a training you should consider for Spy Stream. The math is homophobic training. It starts February 15th. Naruto, you know you can post that in my locals, and I appreciate it. Let's definitely do that for Spy Stream. Woke people and legacy media groups have been trying to cancel Rogan for ages because he steals their audience and doesn't play by their rules. Rogan also offers his enormous platform to people like Jordan Peterson that woke progressives in media circles really don't like. The group that takes out Rogan would gain a lot of clout and a lot of power. The group that can say, we canceled Rogan. If we can get him, if we can get him, we can get you too. Would be able to swing a very large stick. And that's what this is ultimately about. It's a play for power. In short, Midas Touch is a political super PAC that is very likely behind the Patriot Takes accounts. They're attempting a viral hit on Joe Rogan so they can take him out, both because they don't like him and because they want monetizable clout for having done so. So, Andrew, that's who's behind this. The question is, what can we do about it? If every person who helped said, we are with him and we will tell our audiences to cancel Spotify, if they cancel Joe, this would be over in a day. He's true about that. He's right about that. If everyone won't stand up, we need brave people to lead organic pushback. Brett Weinstein has been doing this with his Thanks Joe Rogan hashtag. Finally, it needs to be made clear to Spotify that if they cave, they will pay a significant cost. We have to make that clear. They need to pay a cost for this. If we can do these things, I think we can protect a guy who has done so much for so many. Listen, man, I started off the stream saying that I think Joe Rogan's selling out, and I think that, I don't want to diminish. I shouldn't diminish. I should be nice. I think that he is probably under a tremendous amount of pressure. I cannot imagine having that number of eyes on him or on me that he has on him. Can't imagine it. But this is why he makes the $100 million. This is why you get paid the big bucks, man. You get paid the big bucks when you've got to make big decisions and you've got to stand up for things that are right no matter what. Now, I do believe, even though I think Joe Rogan is selling out a little bit and I think he's taking that sweet Spotify cash, I do also believe that it is incumbent upon all of us to stand up. Even those of us that have never been and probably will never be on his show, it doesn't really matter. Because this isn't even about Joe Rogan. This is about principle. This is about freedom of speech. This is our protecting our ability to have different ideas. Everyone needs to be standing up and backing him. I did see some talk on Twitter today of conservatives that were getting a little miffed that Joe Rogan was pulling down episodes. They're like, why should we stand up for him? He's pulling down episodes. You stand up for him because it's the right thing to do. You stand up for him out of principle. You stand up for him because you would want someone standing up for you if you were in the same situation. Now, I do want to mention, after Wokel posted this, Dave Portnoy piped in. And I thought that this was really interesting because he saw Wokel's thread. He retweeted it. You can see right there. And he said, read the below thread on Rogan. All I know is the Rogan propaganda videos felt similar to the videos made to attack me. And so I went back and looked at the account that always resurfaced old out of context clips of ours and checked to see who followed it. 3 names are identical, and there they are. There is our Midas touch, professional political operative, clout chaser, multimedia strategists that are just doing this to try to take down Joe Rogan as part of a political game. And then this one, again, Midas Touch actually retweeted this. These guys have got some balls, man. Midas Touch actually retweeted Dave Portnoy and said Portnoy is apparently upset that the criticism about Rogan's racist statements, misogyny, and COVID disinformation isn't about him. But you know what's interesting about that retweet? As Vocal Distance pointed out, about 15 minutes before I went live, he said, after Dave Portnoy retweeted my thread, added his own analysis, Midas Touch attacked him, but did not deny launching the attack on Rogan. I think it's now clear that a professional political super PAC, Midas Touch, is behind the attempt to cancel Joe Rogan. Well, obviously. And that is why Joe Rogan should have never, ever, ever bent the knee in the first place, is because this is not about racism. This is not about people making really bad and, quite frankly, offensive jokes that never should have been made in the first place. His apology means nothing. Here is the thing that people need to understand. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to talk about that one in a second. Let me go back to this one because this is actually more relevant to the point I'm about to make. Here is what people don't understand. The apology will make no difference at all, not in any way, when the apology is not what is sought. Again, we have to remember, people like these super PAC bullshit guys, they're not interested in your apology. They're only interested in using you for their own political gain. So while you're not playing by the same set of rules, man. If you are playing by the set of rules that said, "Oh, I said some shitty things and I really regret that." Listen, I get it, man. When you're streaming on the internet, sometimes you're not even conscious of what you're saying. So I can understand saying, "Oh," especially some of the things he said, he shouldn't have said. Now, I do want to say that many of those things that were in that video were taken out of a larger context that I do think we should always consider. That Planet of the Apes thing, man, that was just bad. That wasn't good. So I think that when someone is in a sincere act of self-reflection and they're going, "Oh, those were some mistakes and I should apologize for them," that is a completely different conversation than what these Midas Touch assholes are doing. And because you're trying to apologize and kind of clear your name or even your conscience for having said these things in the first place, that is not what they want from you. They only want your capitulation. They only want you to bend over. And what I really hope is that Joe Rogan learns from this. He already should have learned this lesson in the first place, man. But he should absolutely be learning this time. Joe Rogan should be paying attention to every single person who is speaking up and having his back. And I'm sorry, but if he bends the knee again, he is letting down every single person that spoke up to have his back. Because a lot of people are putting themselves out there to defend him right now. And I think the cancellation is a character building exercise. It's one of the most absolutely insightful things that you can go through. You learn who is your friend and you learn who is not your friend. You learn who is your ally and you learn who only wants to be on your team when times are good. I know a thing or two about this. I've been through this a couple times, not on Joe Rogan's level. Thank the good Lord. But I've been through this a couple times. And every single time, the people that have my back, they are the ones that I know will be there through the good times and the bad times. They're the ones that I know are reasonable. They're the ones that I know are true and are actually interested in a reasonable conversation and frankly care about me as a human being. Here's the final thing I'm going to say about this before we move on. If someone doesn't accept a heartfelt apology when you offer it for making a mistake, they give two shits about you. I really want you guys to hear that. If you apologize to someone and you're coming at it sincerely and you are making a legitimate contrition and someone doesn't accept it, then they give two shits about you. Now, I'm not saying that you need to, forget things that were said or forget things that were done. But there are people who are acting in good faith, and then there are people who are not acting in good faith. And most of the time, when it comes to apologies like this bullshit, The people that you're apologizing to are not going to accept it because they don't like you as a person. They've never liked you as a person. Nothing you can ever say to them will be good enough. So just don't apologize in the flipping first place. But for the people who do accept it, for the people who do have your back, the people who do come out and say, dude, you're not racist. I'm not talking about The Rock. The Rock threw Joe Rogan under the flipping bus. The Rock right now is getting canceled for past transphobic and frankly, like really bad stuff that he said too. The Rock deserves every bit of it. You want to know why? Because when push came to shove, The Rock threw Joe Rogan under the bus. And then people dug up his old tweets too, because that's how it happens. That's karma in action right there. But if you ever go through cancellation, God forbid, if you ever go through it, whether it be at Joe Rogan's level or you just get canceled by your local group of like Karen moms who won't let their kids come over to your house to play anymore, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter the scale. Never, ever forget the people who had your back. Never, ever, ever throw them under the bus. Because those are the people that are true. Those are the people that can be counted on. And those are the people that you should be putting your energy into. Not all the bullshit Karens who are just complaining on the internet and looking for that outrage fix. Naruto says, do people ever accept apologies from politicians? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that, but I think that that is a really great question. I think that I wouldn't put out of I mean, well, here's a better question. Do politicians ever offer apologies? It actually really aggravates me. I'm just gonna be human for a second. It actually really aggravates me that we live in a world where people aren't allowed to make mistakes. Where an apology is seen as a form of weakness. Where an apology is seen as an own. The fact that I even need to say, don't apologize for saying racist shit because they're just going to use that as power, that really aggravates me. That's not the type of world I want to live in. And so I guess maybe to end this segment, I guess I would ask that, try to have some grace. People make mistakes. We're human beings. And when every single mistake is met with absolute cancellation and there is no way out of it, is that the type of world we want to live in? It's not the type of world I want to live in, man. I want to live in a world where you're allowed to have conversation, where you're allowed to throw stuff at the wall, where you're allowed to brainstorm, where you're allowed to spitball, where you're allowed to ponder and wonder and think out loud. And when you do all of those things, you're going to say things that offend someone. I guarantee you. I want to live in a world where we can have discussions about spirituality and different ways to view the most horrific tragedies that ever happened in the world. I want to live in that world where we can have those discussions and look at these things from multiple different angles without ending up in fucking Newsweek. I refuse to give into this. I refuse. It's not the type of world I want to live in, so why would I capitulate to this nonsense? All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about some good news. Well, some interesting news anyway. Check this out. You guys remember how I last week covered a story from the Washington Examiner where apparently Black Lives Matter lost $60 million? They lost $60 million. And apparently their corporate headquarters, or not corporate because they're a nonprofit, but like their organizational headquarters was never really a headquarters. Like you show up at the building, they were never there. And then to follow that up, they shut down their fundraising. Huh. So are you telling me that the organization that if you didn't donate to Black Lives Matter in 2020, you were considered to be a horrible person, and now their leaders, their founders have bought multi-million-dollar houses and disappeared from nowhere. No one's leading the organization. They never had a headquarters, and they lost $60 million? And now have shut down their fundraising. This is from the Washington Examiner. Black Lives Matter shuts down fundraising days after liberal states threaten legal action. Black Lives Matter shut down all of its online fundraising streams late Wednesday afternoon, just days after California threatened to hold the charity's leaders personally liable over its lack of financial transparency. The move comes less than a week after the Washington Examiner investigation found that BLM has had no known leader in charge of its $60 million payroll since the co founder resigned in May. Great investment to everyone who gave money to Black Lives Matter and called people like me racist for saying you really shouldn't give money to this organization. They're bad. Great, great investment, guys. Well done. California and Washington recently ordered BLM to cease all fundraising activities in their blue states due to the failure of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, the legal entity that represents the national BLM movement, to report information about its finances in 2020, the year it raised tens of millions of dollars amid the racial protests and riots that followed George Floyd's killing. We take these matters seriously and have taken immediate action, an unidentified spokesperson for the BLM GNF told the Washington Examiner. We have immediately engaged compliance counsel to address any issues related to state fundraising compliance. In the interim, we have shut down online fundraising as we work quickly to ensure we are meeting all compliance standards. Okay, guys, I've worked at several nonprofits. They should have already done this. The fact that Black Lives Matter, you can always tell exactly how an organization is run internally when crap like this happens. This is what you need to watch out for with organizations. It's about the little things. This is why I don't like Rumble. Well, there are many reasons I don't like Rumble. One of those reasons is that the website sucks. The second reason is that there's no traffic. The third reason is that their CEO goes on Tim Pool talking about how they cut and pasted their privacy policy. Maybe it wasn't the privacy policy, maybe it was something else, but there was definitely cut and pasted something, and I'm like, "Man, if you're going on a national show with that many viewers and you're talking about how you cut and paste terms and conditions while you're going public, did you not have a lawyer that could look at this?" Like, come on. It's these little things that tell you every single time how an organization is actually run. These little things matter. If they can't get their house in order to do the little things, they ain't doing the big things either. And I say that as someone who actually wants places like Rumble to be successful. I know I'm criticizing them right now. This is criticism out of love, man. Don't go on national shows bragging about how you cut and pasted your privacy policy. Don't threaten to sue your competitors. Like, this is basic level stuff. And if you can't do that, then you can't do the big things like going public and scaling a multimedia company. You got to get your house in order before you do these things. This is basic. I just want competence. I feel like I'm living in Atlas Shrugged. That's all I want. I just want competence and to pay attention to the things that matter. And you can always tell how an organization is run when they don't do those things. Anyway, I digress. The donation button that used to be featured prominently on BLM's website was nowhere to be found as of Wednesday evening. The California Department of Justice told the Washington Examiner on Tuesday that, BLM GNF is prohibited from soliciting donations as long as its status is listed as delinquent. So they're actually banned. Holy shit. They're actually banned right now from fundraising in California. How ironic. The fact that this lawsuit is coming from the progressive hellhole of California should be a huge sign. Yeah, it's the truth. That's how you know they're real. This is how you know that Black Lives Matter is like legitimately in trouble. This isn't coming from a conservative state. It's coming from California and Washington. They are legitimately in trouble. Now, will any of us ever get an apology? No. We were all racist when we said, don't donate to Black Lives Matter. Don't do it. It's a Marxist organization. Their leaders don't know what they're doing. I was like, no, Carlin. Don't you think that Black Lives Matter? That, okay, well, they lost all your money. Congratulations. Despite the notice, BLM accepted a $1 donation from the Washington Examiner. Sneaky. BLM accepted a $1 donation from a Washington Examiner reporter based in California on Wednesday morning. So we now know that they're breaking the law. That's great too. The California DOJ on Wednesday afternoon that it could not confirm or deny an investigation into BLM so as to protect its integrity. BLM also received notice from the state of Washington on January 5th. On January 5th, a flipping month ago, to immediately cease all fundraising activities in the state of Washington. Washington warned the charity could face fines of $2,000 for each violation. But as recently as Monday, the charity accepted a $1 contribution from a Washington resident. Ooh, Washington Examiner. I like it. I like these. More places need to be like the Washington Examiner right now with these subversive tactics. They're like, we're gonna get you fined. Everyone who lives in Washington, go donate to BLM right now. Just donate $1. Sacrifice $1 on your credit card to go donate to BLM in Washington or frankly in California and send what happens to the Washington Examiner. Indiana Attorney General Todd previously said BLM's refusal to answer basic questions about its finances and operations fits a common and disturbing pattern. It appears that the house of cards may be falling, and this happens eventually with nearly every scam, scheme, or illegal enterprise. I see patterns that scams kind of universally take: failure to provide board members, failure to provide even executive directors, failure to make your filings available. It all leads to suspicion. The Indiana guy said he would not confirm or deny that his office is investigating BLM, but he said that to the Washington Examiner, there's certainly cause for us to be concerned. BLM's charity registration is also out of compliance in Connecticut, Maine, Maryland, New Jersey, New Mexico, North Carolina, and Virginia. Wow. I can't imagine a nicer group of people for this to happen to than Black Lives Matter. Can you guys? I can't imagine a nicer outcome. And karma, I obviously I get into like these discussions about my tweets with people, and they always say about my tweets, they're like, Carlin, don't you believe that there should be accountability? If you believe that really bad people go to heaven, then there's no accountability. And what I always say is karma is a feisty mistress. I don't need to worry about men like holding me accountable, man, like human beings holding me accountable or anyone else accountable for their actions, because karma will get you every single time. Karma will get you every single flipping time. And look what happens inevitably. Now, it might not get you the minute that you think it should. It might take some time. But look, man, almost 2 years later, karma is biting back for the $2 billion of property damage that was done in 2020 at the hand of this fraudulent Marxist organization. You hate to see it. All right, guys, you are watching Effed Up News of the Week for February 6th, 2022. I do these streams every Sunday at 5. I also stream at 5 p.m. on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on the channel. We got some cool stuff coming up this week. We're going to have Lily Tang Williams on the show. Lily Tang Williams is running for Congress in New Hampshire. She is a hero and an amazing woman, and I can't wait for you guys to hear from her on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we're going to have Harrison Kemp. Now, Harrison Kemp is running as a Libertarian for governor in Maine. I am running as a Libertarian for governor in New Hampshire. And so we're going to have a great talk. Please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you think you're subscribed, just double check for me, because YouTube may have unsubscribed you. They do it every flipping night. And of course, mount that like button for me. I really appreciate it. Now, of course, the thing that drove me away from the Republican Party was mostly that I think the GOP is full of nonsense. I think that, and this isn't to be offensive to anyone watching, because I know I have conservative and Republican viewers, and that's fine. I don't care which party you're in. I don't care who you vote for. I'm sure you're great people. But the reason that I frankly did not see the GOP as a viable political option for me moving forward was because there are beliefs that conservatives have that I just do not align with at all in any way. And I was willing to compromise on some of that. I compromised on my beliefs When I campaigned for Trump by touring around with Walkaway in 2020, I compromised because of the two candidates that were feasible to get elected, because Jo Jorgensen was not going to get elected and she tweeted Black Lives Matter, so F her. But of the two candidates that were feasible, Trump was just the better option. But I never saw the GOP as a long-term political home for me, simply because I find that many of the people in the party are lazy and don't do anything and just whine and complain all day while not really taking action to try to change anything. That's why I was frankly a little surprised, but also quite frankly elated to see one of the few occasions in which the GOP found their balls and told Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger to go fuck themselves. Okay, they didn't quite use those words. They just censured them. But still, I mean, I'm going to take joy in this because both of them are rhinos. They shouldn't be in the party at all. Both of them are going to lose their seats. I remember when I started talking about Liz Cheney losing her seat like right after January 6th. And I did like several videos of this. You can go back on the channel and look. I did several videos where I was like, Liz Cheney's going to lose her seat. She's going to lose her seat. She's going to lose her seat. And conservatives were like, no, Carlin. Liz Cheney will never lose that seat. And I was like, all right, well, we'll see what's going to happen. Well, guess what? Kinzinger got redistricted out, so he's not even running again. And Liz Cheney is going to get primaried. Trump has already endorsed her primary opponent. The Wyoming Republicans have already basically kicked her out of the party. And now look at this. Now both Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger have been censured. And I'm going to say this too before we get into this article. The GOP made a huge, monumental mistake when they did not take control of the narrative post January 6th. This was a mistake. If Brandon Straka had gone on Tucker Carlson's show the day after January 6th, as he was scheduled to go on, and if Brandon Straka had said what he wanted to say on January 7th on Tucker Carlson's show, we would be living in a completely different reality. Because Brandon Straka, former lefty, would not have allowed the conservatives to seed the narrative around January 6th. They gave up. They didn't even try. They threw their own voters under the bus, even though those of us who were actually there on January 6th knew that it wasn't what was being portrayed in the media. The GOP dropped the ball. They should have taken control of the narrative from day one, and that's why we find ourselves in this position today of even having to talk about Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. And now I don't think there's any way that they're going to get it back. They dropped the ball. But, you have to take the wins you can get, I guess. In a resolution formally censuring GOP reps Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, the Republican National Committee on Friday described the events surrounding the January 6th insurrection, which had been at the center of the probe, as legitimate political discourse. This is what they should have said from the flipping beginning. This is what the GOP should have said from the flipping beginning. It was a mostly peaceful protest, with a few broken windows and one dead Trump supporter at the end. But it was a mostly peaceful protest. And I know I've said this a million times, but I'm going to say it 1,000,001. I was on the Capitol lawn that day. There were minimally 50,000 people on the Capitol lawn that day. If they had wanted to burn down that building, they would have, and there would have been nothing the Capitol Police could have done to stop them. But they didn't, because the vast majority of those people were standing around, chanting their chants and waving their flags and thinking it was like a legitimate rally because there was a scheduled rally that was supposed to effing be there. That was why I was there. There was a scheduled permanent rally. And most people didn't do anything wrong. 99.9% of the people who were there that day did nothing wrong, and the GOP threw them under the bus. They should have called this a legitimate political protest from the very flipping beginning, which is what it was. A copy of the resolution obtained by CNN claimed that 2 lawmakers were participating in a Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens engaged in legitimate political discourse. Good. From their purchase of the House Select Committee. which has conducted interviews with close to 400 individuals from members of former President Donald Trump's inner circle to organizers who helped plan the Stop the Steal rally on the morning of January 6th. The RNC, which condemned the senseless acts of violence in the immediate aftermath of the January 6th insurrection, later Friday tried to clarify the term. Oh, of course, CNN's got to write it like this. They later tried to clarify what they meant. In a statement to CNN, Chair Ronna McDaniel, who I frankly have no use for at all, the committee drew a distinction between those who did not commit violence on January 6th and the rioters who violently stormed the Capitol. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger crossed a line, Ronna said. They chose to join Nancy Pelosi in a Democrat led prosecution of ordinary citizens who engaged in legitimate political discourse that had nothing to do with violence at the Capitol. Ronna, where the hell were you a year ago? This has only happened because the base has demanded this. I've said this a million times. The GOP sucks because the base allows them to suck. The fact, and again, I know I repeat myself for people who watch me over and over again, but I also know that sometimes I have viewers that don't watch me over and over again. But the fact that Scott Pressler is not on the GOP's payroll tells me everything I need to know about the effectiveness of Ronna McDaniel. Naruto says, my mom's husband was there that day, didn't go in. Yeah, the vast majority of people didn't go in. To be honest, like I was there, I was very close to the building. I didn't even see where the doors were. The only way I even know where the doors were now, quite frankly, is I posted some of my January 6th video in my locals on the anniversary as like a special like local supporter benefit. You got to see some of my like personal January 6th video. And I was looking at the video as I was posting. I was like, holy shit, I was standing right in front of the door and I didn't even know it. Because there were people coming out the door, but it just to me, when I was there, just looked like a massive crowd. And for some reason, it didn't click to me that it was a door. Thank God. I don't think I would have gone in. I don't think I would have because I was already freaked out enough. Like, I didn't even want to be that close to the building. The only reason I was like even that close to the building was it was my only way to get out of the crowd that I was in. But like, I don't know. I kind of wonder, like, would I have gone in if I had actually seen the door? I don't know. I don't think I would have. Anyway, I digress. These final words that had nothing to do with violence at the Capitol were not in the resolution adopted on Friday. So so what you're saying is the GOP pussied out again. What you're saying is that they did it again. They removed the words had nothing to do with violence from the Capitol. Okay. Again, more evidence that Ronna McDaniel is useless. McDaniel on Saturday continued to try clarifying the language by circulating talking points to party members about the resolution, saying in part, the RNC denounces all out. Oh my God, I didn't realize this. They bent the fucking knee again. I'm sorry. I know some of you are offended when I swear. So, what you're telling me is that even after they censured Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, even after they came out and said that this was legitimate political discourse, the GOP has learned nothing, and are still trying to apologize for things. Have the Democrats been apologizing for the $2 billion in property damage that Black Lives Matter caused in 2020? Did the Democrats have to apologize for that every day? Why don't they have to apologize for that? Because they've never done it. They just say no. The Democrats do not have to apologize for the $2 billion of property damage because they absolutely refuse to do so. The weakness of the GOP to continue to capitulate and continue to apologize for things that their base did that were not wrong. There was nothing wrong with being at the Capitol that day. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about the people who committed violence. I'm not talking about the people who went in the building. I'm not talking about any of that. There was nothing wrong with being on the Capitol lawn that day. They did nothing wrong, and they have repeatedly been thrown under the bus by their political party. And I'm sorry for conservatives and Republicans in the chat. Until you hold your leadership accountable, there's nothing that's going to change. They're going to continue to throw you under the bus because you allow them to. But Carlin, what do we do? Stop voting for them. But if we stop voting for them, we'll lose and the Democrats will win. Yes. Because that is the only way. That is the only way that they will ever learn their lesson is if they lose. And yes, you might have to sacrifice some elections in order to do it. But I'm going to be honest, man. If you're not making those sacrifices in 2022, you are going to be making the sacrifices in 2024. Which do you want to sacrifice? Do you want to sacrifice the midterms or do you want to sacrifice the presidential election? Which one seems like a better idea? Because there will be sacrifices either way. And if you don't do it in 2022, then you are in for a surprise in 2024. It's time to start allowing your horrible candidates to lose. And if they make it through the primary, then don't vote for them. If horrible candidates make it through the primary, if you cannot defeat them in the primary, do not vote for them, because the only way that your party will learn to start supporting good candidates is if you force them to under threat of losing. That's the only way they learn. You got to start playing the long game here, man. Because the rest of us will be suffering for these mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. And I hear like people are saying we're trying to primary every rhino. Good, primarying is fine. What happens if you don't win? If you are unable to primary them and then you still go in on election day and vote for them, you are giving them the same outcome. They will not care. They will not change their behaviors. Every time you vote for a shitty candidate, you are making it okay and acceptable for the GOP establishment to support shitty candidates. So yes, you should do every single thing that you can do to primary rhinos like Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. But if you happen to lose, if your best effort at primarying them isn't good enough and they make it to the general, you've got to stop voting for them. I'm not trying to sabotage you. I'm not trying to implement a secret leftist plan to get you to lose. This is the only way you win in the long run. It is the only way that your bullshit party starts actually doing their job to get you good candidates that are going to support you, that are going to have your backs, that aren't going to throw you under the bus. It is the only way you win in the long term. So yes, sometimes winning in the long term requires losing in the short term. And losing sucks. No one likes that. But if you don't start losing, guess what's going to happen? You know who I think's running for president? I think Liz Cheney is. I think Liz Cheney's going to run for president. Do you want to see a President Liz Cheney? What else is she going to do? She ain't going to have a job after 2022. So if you want to see a President Liz Cheney, keep voting for your shitty candidates. Because that's the outcome you're going to get. That's the outcome you're going to create. I don't think you guys want that. And sometimes you got to take a bullet in the arm in the short term. The bullet in the arm isn't going to kill you. But maybe you avoided taking the bullet in the chest or the bullet in the head. It's just the cost of doing business, man. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Matthew said if they win Congress, Republicans better impeach Biden. I don't even care if they have the votes. Matthew, you and I are in 100% agreement on that point. 100%. Mandatory Carry says, just keep fighting. I'll catch a rerun. Thank you, Mandatory Carry, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, let's move into education. Please mount that like button if you haven't already. Now, this one, dude. This one hit me right in the feels. I think that this is from Naruto and Locals. Thank you for posting this. This one really hit me when I saw this headline. 77% tested at a Baltimore high school read at an elementary level some at kindergarten level. So, one of the sacrifices that we've made in education in regards to implementing critical race theory and social emotional learning and all the bullshit diversity and equity stuff is that somewhere along the line, schools stopped teaching children how to read. And this is the result of that. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you guys. There we go. A Baltimore city teacher came forward with devastating information that showed 77% of students tested at one high school are reading at an elementary school level. The teacher works at Patterson High School, one of the largest high schools in Baltimore, with a 61% graduation rate and nearly a $12 million budget. We agree not to identify the source who fears retribution for giving Project Baltimore the results of the iReady assessment. iReady assessments are given in the Baltimore City schools to help determine at which grade level a student is performing in math and reading. The scores are not made public. If the media requests them, the district will redact most of the results. But Project Baltimore obtained the results for all of the students tested at Patterson High School. In reading, 628 Patterson High School students took the test. Out of these students, 484 of them, or 77%, tested at an elementary school reading level. That includes 71 high school students who were reading at a kindergarten level and 88 students at a first grade level. Now, I was a reader when I was a kid. You can never get books out of my hands. I would actually get detention in school for reading my books during class, even though I would get like all A's in the class without really trying that hard. But I read my own books. I liked R.L. Stine quite a bit. I had all the R.L. Stine horror books. I liked Mrs. Pigglewiggle. Mrs. Pigglewiggle was pretty rad. That was my favorite books in elementary school. I liked the Ramona books quite a bit. You can never get a book out of my hands. I was reading at a kindergarten and first grade level before I was in kindergarten. I was reading at that level when I was like 4 years old. I'm sure many of you have the same experience. I cannot imagine a reality in which I made it to high school reading the same books that I was reading when I was 4 years old. That is shocking. It is shocking that 77% of the students in this high school are reading at an elementary school level. This is why we need to defund the public schools. People always say to me when I say defunding the public schools, they're like, Carlin, what are we going to do? Do you think that it could get much worse than this? There was a time when people actually cared about students learning how to read and write. There was a time in our country, and frankly in the world, when we were able to teach people how to read and write without the help of the goddamn schools. If this is the result that the schools are producing, then why are we funding them in the first place? To the tune of tens of thousands of dollars per student, and you can't teach them to read. You aren't teaching them to read. Naruto says this is how they make someone a slave to the system. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. You want to talk about equity? The kids in this inner city school in Baltimore, who I am sure are disproportionately black, are not going to be able to function in the real world because they can't read. Another 45 are reading at a second grade level. Just 12 students. Just 12 students, not 12%. 12 students tested at Patterson High School were reading at grade level, which comes out to 1.9%. Project Baltimore asked how a student who reads at an elementary level could reach high school. That is a great question. "They're pushed through," replied the teacher. "They're not ready for the workforce. They're not ready for further education." When asked if it's social promotion, the teacher replied, "Yes." Baltimore City Schools has a one fail policy which states students cannot be retained a second time prior to ninth grade. Holy shit. So if they hold students back one time prior to ninth grade, they can't hold them back again, even if they can't read. That means students go to the next grade level no matter how little work is completed. North Avenue has been pointing to studies showing students learn better with grade level peers, saying multiple retentions should be a last resort for students. Do you know what this reminds me of? For those who did happy hour this week, happy hour was another doozy this week. We do happy hour at 5 p.m. on my second channel, Actively Unwoke. For those who did happy hour this week, we watched an anti-racist math training. An anti-racist math training for teachers. I have previously read the entire textbook on this channel. You can go back. The stream was in like August or something. In the anti-racist math teacher training textbook, they literally teach that you don't need to complete Algebra 1 in order to go on to Algebra 2, that it is racist or white supremacist to teach people that in order to go on to Algebra 2 in schools, that students need to learn Algebra 1. They say that expecting students to advance through a sequential order of subjects is white supremacy. They're literally saying the same thing in this article. They're saying the same thing. They're actually saying that teachers are arguing that multiple retentions for students should be a last resort because students should be able to go on to the next grade level regardless of how much work they actually complete. These numbers aren't lying, the teacher told Project Baltimore. We truly need families to see these numbers and to understand what it is. Well, you're the teachers, dude. You're the teachers. Why aren't you doing something about it? Project Baltimore over the years has interviewed parents, teachers, and community activists who all say children are being pushed through the school system without getting the education they need, and no one is doing anything about it. This is why the public schools need to be defunded. Everyone knows what the problem is. There's no question about what the problem is. And I understand that defunding the public schools is scary for a lot of people. You think, what am I going to do? It's my free babysitting. I get all of that. But do you want your kids to learn how to read or don't you? Desperate times call for desperate measures, folks. Well, you know what the teachers are doing instead. You know what the teachers are doing instead of teaching your children how to read? They're protesting. Douglas County Schools to close Thursday as teachers call sick out to protest the school board majority. So instead of teaching your children how to read, teachers are deciding that their time is better spent protesting the school board. Let me get the font a little bit bigger. Schools in Douglas County will be closed Thursday after hundreds of district employees asked for substitute teachers. It's part of a protest against several actions by the newly elected school board majority asking the superintendent to quit or be fired, according to 3 school board members. I want to thank Catherine Scully for her 13-month member super chat. I can't show it on the screen, unfortunately, because they don't have that integration in StreamYard yet. But thank you, Catherine, for being a member on the channel for 13 months. And in the chat, she says, I am not sending my future children to public school. I've been doing research into alternatives. Homeschooling looks the best. I think that that is exactly the right thing to do, Catherine. Your children will thank you. They will thank you. By mid-Wednesday, there were close to 1,500 unfilled teacher absences for Thursday. There are about 3,300 licensed teachers in the district. The district canceled preschool through high school classes because the number of absences had impacted our ability to provide a safe and supervised learning environment for students. The district said families attending charter schools should check to see whether they're still holding school. A rally against the school board majority is planned for 1 p.m. After much deliberation, the difficult decision to rally was made in conjunction with parents and community members who are taking a stand against actions that are harmful to students and staff. Why were they protesting? Oh, because it's a new conservative leaning school board. 4 new conservative leaning school board members turned over the board in the November election, pushed into office by a wave of parents opposed to masks in schools. So the teachers are protesting because they want a mask mandate, and the school board won't do it. The board quickly eliminated the mask mandate, voted to change the district's equity policy, and now appears to be poised to out the district's top leader, according to 3 members of the Board of Education. I just want to go into this story from the rally. Now, this is in Colorado, just so we're aware. Teachers and families rally outside the district offices to protest the school board. This is what they're spending their time doing. We teach our students right and wrong. It's time to teach the board, read one of the signs protesting the teachers' health. Large groups of students joined the rally with signs that said, "Honesty matter," and "Kids first, here we are." Look at this rally. Of course, these children can't be held responsible for being there. They got pissed that conservatives were elected to the school board, and instead of just wearing their masks voluntarily, they wanted to protest to demand that everyone else wear masks too. Naruto says, as governor, can I this is a good question, Naruto. If I am elected governor of New Hampshire, am I able to defund my local colleges and universities? That is a good question that I will have to look into. I did look into last night whether I'm able to unilaterally disband the teachers' unions. Apparently, I'm not allowed to do that. I did try. I was like, if I'm governor, can I disband the teachers' unions? And my friend Justin O'Donnell, who basically knows everything, he's a libertarian here in New Hampshire. He said, no, Carlin, you cannot disband the teachers' unions because there are collective bargaining laws. And I said, Justin, are you sure? Can't I just pass a law to limit collective bargaining? And he's like, you probably don't want to do that. So unfortunately, I know I can't disband the teachers' unions. But what I can do is push for a law making property tax optional. What I can do is sign an executive order on day 1 putting cameras in classrooms. I can do those things. And if schools don't put cameras in classrooms within like a 6-month time limit, they don't get their funding anymore. I can do those things. So vote for me, governor of New Hampshire. I might have a website soon. I'm not raising money or anything. But we're going to have fun with this. I got nominated for governor. I might as well have fun. But this isn't even the craziest thing. You guys ready for it? You guys ready for what the teachers are doing when they're not teaching your kids how to read? They're buying sex toys. This is in the New York Post. Video shows a Long Island substitute teacher's sex toy slip-up during lecture. The classroom was abuzz. A substitute teacher on Long Island aroused concern when she was captured on video appearing to browse sex toys during class. Hang on. Sorry. I went to laugh and cough at the same time, and it just ended up getting all kerfluffled. I'm sorry. I was kerfuffled by this article. Mount that like button if you haven't already. This is, guys, if you haven't mounted the like button yet, and you still haven't mounted that like button, like, this is now the time to do it. You can do whatever you want to that like button, just as long as you don't broadcast it on a projector in front of a class of children. Thank you. A video obtained by the Post shows a teacher at Valley Stream South High School sitting at her desk behind a computer while a projector screen at the front of the class shows a series of sex toys on what appears to be an online store. The video was shot from a student's desk. Students can be heard muffling laughs, and one mutters, "Oh my God." Meanwhile, the lecture about Garrett Morgan, inventor of the traffic light, continues to play unabated. Now, we should point out That traffic lights are now considered racist, and so I think it's a little racist for them having a lecture about traffic lights. But maybe the fact that the teacher was broadcasting her sex toy purchases makes it less racist? I don't know. It is unclear if the substitute teacher was aware of the gaffe. A Valley Stream Central High School district spokesperson said Wednesday that following the incident, the substitute teacher has been removed from the district's roster and will no longer be teaching at any district schools. I suppose thank God for small favors. I am dismayed by the action taken by this substitute teacher and can assure you that I and the district have taken this matter very seriously and action has been taken. Please know that your students in class were given the opportunity to speak with their guidance counselor today to discuss their concerns. I'm not sure sending them to the guidance counselor is like the best idea they've ever had, but I mean, they look old enough. What was this lady thinking? I mean, she's not like a young person, and not that there's any, I mean, like, good for her, man. I mean, I hope she got something fun. But what the hell was she thinking browsing sex toys during class? And apparently projecting it on the board. You know? I mean, legitimately, I do think that sexual repression causes a lot of interpersonal problems. So maybe she's just, you gotta take care of business, I guess. Just not when you're teaching children in class. Please. All right, guys, let's see. What do I have next? What do I have next? Ooh, this is a fun story. This is a little story just kind of out of nowhere. Apparently, Democrats love Tucker Carlson. Apparently, Democrats love Tucker Carlson more than they even dare to admit to themselves. Surprise! Tucker Carlson draws the most Democratic viewers in key demo, even topping Rachel Maddow. Now, we covered maybe like a month ago on the channel that CNN viewership is down like 90%. So that's pretty great. CNN is basically imploding. Jeff Zucker resigned this week. And if you think that Jeff Zucker is resigning because he had an affair, please. No, he is not resigning because he had an affair. He's not resigning because he had an affair with a coworker. The coworker that he was grooming to replace him at CNN. No, no, no. Jeff Zucker used this as an out. He used it as an out to get away from an obviously failing network. And of course, MSNBC with Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow is now leaving her show to go produce a movie or some such shit. So all they have left is Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson has basically taken the place of Trump. They had to, I always said when Trump left office, I was like, who are they going to replace Trump with? Because it's like when you're addicted to hating one thing, you can't just turn off that addiction just because that person isn't the president anymore, right? If you're addicted to hating one thing, you're going to have to transfer that addiction to another thing. It's kind of like I don't think that people like with really addictive personalities, they never really get rid of their addictions. They just transfer them from one thing to another. It's like when a person like maybe they get really fat and they say, "I want to lose weight." But they got really fat because they were addicted to food. Right? They were addicted to food and how that food made them feel safe and taken care of and all that stuff. So when they start to go to the gym every day and get really into it and they start to lose weight, they transfer the addiction from food to the gym. Or maybe you can sometimes do this in healthy ways where you transfer the addiction from like really crappy food to like healthy, organic, and vegetables and all that stuff. You transfer your addiction to good food. But this is the same thing. Because when Trump left, he left a void. We know he left a void because they still talk about him all the flipping time, even though he's playing golf in Florida. So it appears to me that they have transferred their hatred of Trump to Tucker effing Carlson. Let's read. Nielsen Fusion data for October shows that Fox News hosts' audience isn't entirely conservative. So this is apparently from October of last year, but that's okay. There is an entire cottage industry within media dedicated to disseminating Tucker Carlson's Fox News musings, presumably to liberal audiences. But the Nielsen MRI fusion numbers reveal that in October, Fox News unsurprisingly got the majority of audience from self-proclaimed Republicans, and in overall turning into total day programming, 73% of the demo tuning into prime time. But more surprising about the stats about Tucker's, Carlson, and CNN. Excuse me, God damn it, what the hell just happened? I can't read. More surprising are their stats about Carlson and Fox News poll with self-proclaimed Democrats. Of those demo-aged viewers surveyed who identified as Democrats, 39% choose Fox News, 31% chose MSNBC, and 30% chose CNN programming. Fox News grabbed 42% of Democrats aged 25 to 54. CNN had 33%. MSNBC got 25%. Carlson, sorry guys, congested. Carlson, oh, I think I cleared it up. Oh, excellent. Excellent. I can breathe again. That's a good thing. It's a good thing for me to be able to breathe when I'm trying to read the news. Carlson was top among Democrats in the demo across all of cable news that month and ranked third place among Democrats in total viewership. Of the 4 programs among Democrats in total viewers, Fox News had 3: The Five, Tucker Carlson Tonight, and Hannity. The top spot in total views went to MSNBC's Rachel Maddow. These numbers only account for October, but reveal that Fox News and Carlson's sizable audience are not that easy to define. Consider Carlson's ratings that month. In October, Carlson's show was the top rated program in the demo across all cable news and was the second highest show overall, coming in only behind Fox News's panel show, The Five. Earlier Tuesday, Nielsen released January's ratings, which also provided a big win to Fox. The network hit the milestone of being the top-rated cable news channel for 20 straight years. So Democrats, it's kind of like with my haters on Twitter. Like, they talk about me every day, and they dream about me, and they scour my tweets, and they infiltrate my community, and they talk about me non-stop, incessantly all the time. And you know why they do that? Because they really love me. Because some of them wish they were me. But minimally, they love to hate me. When anyone ever hates you too much, like the left hates Tucker Carlson, make no mistake about it, it is nothing more than a sign of how much they love you and desperately, desperately want to be you. All right, guys, we're coming up on the end of the show, but just as a reminder, if you have not subscribed to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel today. YouTube makes it dang near impossible for me to grow my audience, not only because they delete subscribers from my channel literally every night, but they also don't serve my content to people if they're not subscribed. 90% of the people who watch my content are subscribed to my channel. That used to be like 30%. I don't think it's that I'm just so good and focused that I have captured all the audience that's interested in my content. I just think YouTube ain't serving my content. So if you like what you're seeing here, if you're enjoying the show so far, please make sure you're subscribed. I stream every day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 5 p.m. So pop back if you haven't seen my content in a minute. But I do always like to end with some fun things. Let's talk about a murder over mayonnaise. Now, regular viewers of my channel know that I believe that mayonnaise is basically terrorism. I think that mayonnaise is disgusting. I think it's gross. If you try to put mayonnaise on something in my vicinity, I will make a face. My husband eats the most disgusting concoction ever. He's probably eating it right now because he knows I'm upstairs and I'm not going to catch him. But what he does is he makes ramen noodles and he puts eggs in them, and then he puts hot dogs, and then he puts mayonnaise. And it's the grossest thing that I've ever seen in my life, and that's why he has to eat it when I'm not around. But I think mayonnaise is gross. Which is why I really don't understand why a fight over mayonnaise would lead to murder. Like, come on. Let's read what happened. Iowa man sentenced to life in prison after killing his friend in a fight over mayonnaise. Mayonnaise. You knew I told you guys mayonnaise was terrorism. You guys didn't believe me. I told you it was terrorism. Mayonnaise has literally led to death. I think ranch dressing is gross too, just so we're clear. I see people talking about ranch dressing in the chat. Ranch is gross as well. No, no, thumbs down, denied. Ranch is possibly more gross to me than mayonnaise. It's a texture thing. An Iowa man was sentenced to life behind bars for murdering a friend he repeatedly ran over with a pickup truck after a fight about mayonnaise. Christopher, now 29, used his truck to ram Caleb, 30, outside a cafe in a small town on December 17th, 2020. Christopher initially drove away and then came back and ran over Caleb 2 more times. So these guys were really pissed. This is what mayonnaise does to people. This is what mayonnaise and ranch dressing does to people. The dude had been drinking out at a bar with another person earlier in the night in nearby Moorhead, but things took a turn when Christopher spread mayo on Caleb's food, which riled Caleb and sparked a bar fight. The furious Christopher called Caleb half-brother Craig Pryor on the way to the cafe and threatened to set Caleb's house on fire and shoot him, the newspaper said. Pryor later came to Dave's Old English old home in Pisgah, where the confrontation was brewing. Christopher eventually rammed his truck into Pryor's and then rammed Caleb. Christopher's first blow to Caleb did not kill him. He can be heard screaming for his brother Craig. Rather than just leave, Christopher went down the street, turned around, and came back to strike Caleb a second time. To be sure he completed the job, Christopher drove his truck over Caleb one last time. Christopher then drove off, but his truck broke down a short while later. On the phone, he told Pryor that he had killed Caleb, according to the verdict. Christopher was convicted after a bench trial in December and sentenced on Monday to life in prison in an argument that was started over mayonnaise. Now, Nat D says French onion dip. I can get behind French onion dip. French onion dip is wonderful. I used to make a great French onion dip. Barbecue sauce is fine. What other condiments? What other condiments should we peruse? Mayo is like, mayonnaise for me is like the most offensive condiment by far. But I guess ranch dressing is kind of there because you people who like ranch dressing, you put ranch on everything. You like carry ranch dressing around in your purse. I don't understand it at all. Blue cheese is good. Not so much the dressing, like blue cheese in general. I'm a big fan of blue cheese. But even if I'm having like buffalo wings or something, no dressing. It's like the dressing has a consistency for me that I just do not respond to. Relish is best in Chicago when it is on a Chicago style hot dog. I like the relish when they make it extra green and they put it on the hot dog with the peppers and the tomatoes, and you're not allowed to have any ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago. Mustard is good. I'm fine with mustard. I actually make, okay, so fun fact, I make deviled eggs, and people are always like, Carlin, if you hate mayonnaise so much, then how do you make deviled eggs? I'll tell you how I make deviled eggs with mustard. When I make deviled eggs, I do put just a tiny bit of mayo, just a touch, and I have to shut my eyes when I do it. I just put a little bit, I mix it up really quickly so I can't see the mayonnaise anymore, and then I add mustard and dill. And if you do those things, your deviled eggs will be fantastic. You sprinkle a little bit more dill on top, even put some bacon on if you want. Fantastic. Guac is the best. I once won a guacamole making contest at a job I had. It was a blind taste test. I beat like 6 other types of guacamole because I had lots of garlic and lots of salt and lots of lime in my guacamole. I even beat someone thought he was being funny and he made a guac with bacon, thinking the bacon would automatically overrule all other types of guacamole. No, mine won. Blind taste test. Anyway, wasabi? No, thumbs down. Well, I'm glad we've bonded over condiments, guys. We all know where each other stands now. We all know where each other stands. You're either with mayonnaise or you're against it. And if you're against mayonnaise, you're on my team. If you're against mayonnaise, if you're with mayonnaise, no, nope. We're gonna have to hash that out. But I wanted to end today by saying a great big thank you to the Bay Area GOP because they all watched my webinar that I did last week. I don't know how many people here. I gave a webinar on Tuesday, just an introduction to critical race theory and what it is and some evidence. And I answered a whole ton of questions. I had some great questions. There were like 300 people in the webinar, but I loved seeing this picture on Twitter of the Bay Area GOP headquarters with all these parents gathered around watching the recording of my webinar. And I just thought that that was awesome. And I want to encourage you, if you have groups, you guys can all access the recording of this webinar. So how you access it, because I haven't updated the website yet, but I will be updating the website. But how you can access it right now is to go to Actively Unwoke and go to live events. And what you want to do is, so it says it was on February 1st, which it was. But if you click right now on this promo, what's going to happen is it's going to take you to a landing page. And on that landing page is going to be a recording. And you can click on the play button and put in your name and email address because that's just how the system works. And you get access to the recording. So if you missed the live webinar on Tuesday, you can still watch that recording. And I strongly encourage you to do so and pass it on to your friends and family. Get together with a group. Man, if you guys are going to watch this webinar as a group, let me know. If you guys want me to present this webinar, and I will be doing additional live versions of this webinar, I'm thinking I'm going to do it like once a month, a live version to just like get this information out there and get the ball rolling. But if you guys want me to come and present this webinar to your group, just email me. Just go to, hang on, I'll show you how you get in touch with me. I have some dirty liars on the internet spreading vicious rumors about emailing me through my website. They're saying, Carlin, if you're emailed through the website, they have access to your personal information. Well, that's not true. Well, I do need your personal information to be able to respond to you. But just go to contact, fill out this contact form. And if you want me to come present the webinar to one of your groups, I'm happy to do that. I would love to do that. If you want to Zoom me in to talk to one of your groups about critical race theory and to answer their questions, I'm happy to do that as well. Just reach out to me through the contact form. Now, if you do want me to respond to you, I am going to have to know how to get in touch with you. But in theory, you could literally put a fake name, a fake email address, and fake message. But I'm not going to be able to respond to you if you do that. But contrary to rumors spread on the internet about people emailing me through my website, I do not actually get instant access to your email address. So you got to make sure you give a way for me to contact you if you want me to contact you. But I'm glad to do it. All right, guys. That's all I have for Effed Up News this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. Now, just a reminder that if you want to support the work I'm doing, please make sure you head over to kb.locals.com/support and become a supporter in my locals community. You can sign up for $5 a month. You can also sign up for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift. I do want to send a very special thank you to the 11 new annual supporters that signed up in the past couple days to allow me to broadcast an equity training for Spy Stream next month. We're looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. But I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night at 7 p.m. when we have our next local Zoom call. So you guys have plenty of time to get involved there. I'll be streaming again tomorrow at 5 p.m. on this channel. We'll do the locals call shortly after that, and I'll probably have some clips going up in the meantime. Until we meet again, guys, take care, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.